So I think that most people know that I have been pretty outspoken, calling things out. And over the last 11 years, there has been pretty much a target on my back. A known target, one that was exposed in federal court, one that was exposed with the Turtle Boy Sports situation, just a real known target. But I don't think that I've ever truly explained the depth of the emotional distress and the panic, and it's not over anybody shooting me or beating me. I mean, I don't know what the limit was going to be when it came to the James Bano situation. I don't know what the limit was with Brian Beach being involved and Turtle Boy Sports coming to my home. The deeper pain, even with the loss of 2 dogs and one being hospitalized, even with that, I think that in order to explain that it's not just me, and it's not just my husband, but it was my mother. And I'm going to focus on her right now. I'm sure that you've heard the video, the audios, and everything as it relates to Rafael Perez. And what we endured that day with the likes of him, using Frank's little phrase. That man should not be a police officer. He should not be appearing in court, writing a narrative, doing any kind of arrest of anyone, because he has obviously some kind of, I don't know if it's a mental illness. I have no idea. I have no idea how someone makes up a whole damn story in their head, making up a note and all this bullshit. And Frank Milos knows. I have conversations that I have taped with him. He knows. And instead of sitting down and figuring this out, he watched it all play out. He watched it all play out. But we're not, well, I mean, these are things that obviously with every situation, everything that has gone on, we've written how we feel. I had to sit and do mine by audio, so it could be transcribed. But with every situation, there was damage. There was major damage. But for right now, I'm going to concentrate on my mom. The sweetest lady that you could ever imagine. An angel walking this earth. And I'm not just saying that because she was my mother. I'm saying it because that's who she was. never speaking a bad word on anyone, never gossiping, always ready to lend a helping hand. She really was what her friends would call a lovely lady. So, as you know, I mean, early on, Frank Milos was fucking up here, there, and everywhere. He couldn't get it together. He could not get it together. And with him not being able to get his act together, he allowed a lot of things. And one of the major things was when it came to Joseph's report. Now, I have expressed this to Frank Milos. And well, let's just get into it. So, my son passes away. We're trying to find out information. Roberto da Silva is very involved. Sorry, Roberto. Our thoughts and everything pinned you in this, along with the paperwork of everything that happened. And the good thing was, a lot of the times when things were happening, that I was like, what the hell is this all about? Or why is this happening? I have receipts, not that they were answered, but I have emails. I have emails that I had sent out with my concerns. And Frank Milos released our son's report publicly as an APRA. Now, I was really early on with this. I didn't understand not one bit of this. And most people don't. And that's why I enjoy when I can help somebody to understand things that they should or shouldn't APRA or whatever. And I have stuck by that for many years, ever since Frank Milos released my son's report to the media. So, early on, the police report was released, and it was released to us, the family. But because of the way that Frank Milos did that, he now felt that it was now a public record. See, he wasn't sure. He hadn't, I guess he hadn't been ever challenged on anything, and maybe taught his job. And I feel like I have taught Frank Milos his job. I don't know how he got away with half the stuff he got away with before meeting me. But he was just thinking that nobody was going to question how he did things. So Frank Milos released Joseph's report to Ethan Shorey from the Valley Breeze. Now, before he did, Ethan had called me, and he wanted a statement. He wanted to know what I had to say, and this and that. And before he hung up, he said, "Can you give me the police report?" And I said, "Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Why would I do that?" So he went to Frank Milos. Well, he didn't really go to Frank Milos. He went to Paul Brantley, and it was kind of like this, and please don't expect me to be able to give word by word. But it was something like, hey, Paul, I want everything you got, or the file on Joseph Farinelli. And it wasn't, this is an APRA, this is a request for public records. It was, hey, Paul, like it was just being done. And this is going to be seen, obviously, in a recent thing, how people are able to obtain information, and how Ethan Shorey has been able to obtain information without even writing, this is an APRA request, under public records or anything. He just said, hey, Paul, I want this. And he was provided with it. Now, before they released it to Ethan, Frank Milos said, Mrs. Farinelli, I want you to know, this is a public record because it went through the public records. Almost like this whole other fucking department that tells you, now it's in that department, so now it can go out. Right? Not even a thought in his mind that if this was his child, how would he be viewing this? But he doesn't do that. And I said, you're kidding me, right? And he's like, once a public record, always a public record. So you want to lead me into that maze of bullshit? I guess we're going to do this, right? If you're telling me that your legal obligation now, after giving the report to the family, the blood family, my child, you are now able to give it to Ethan Shorey from the Valley Breeze. So it's done. And I had been saying, this doesn't seem right. This doesn't seem right. Frank Milos on the phone with me, saying, this is the way it has to be. We went to a council meeting, and, Michael and I were like, how does that happen? Like, what made you do something like that? And he said, I had an opinion from the Attorney General's office that, now it could go to Ethan Shorey or anywhere, absolutely anywhere. So once a public record, always a public record. So I had talked to Jessie Washington. I have a clip of her when we were on the phone. And her saying, Frank is standing by, the fact that he has contacted the Attorney General's office. He has an opinion from them that because you have your child's report. Now Ethan Shorey from the Valley Breeze can have it as well. So I had to tell my mother. My mother reads the Valley Breeze all the time. That was, she would pick it up, or we would pick it up for her, and she would read it. The Pawtucket Valley Breeze. So it wasn't like I could say, I'm just not going to tell her. Oh, no. I now had to show her the report that was given to the Valley Breeze. I had to show it to her. And she was horrified. And she couldn't even get past the second page without picking out all the errors. This isn't my phone number. This isn't this. This isn't that. Where was he recently unemployed from? What is, he doesn't, what's going on here? And then she got to a particular word, and she read it. She was reading the paragraph. She put the paper down, and she started to pray. And I get very emotional about this. And her eyes were closed and her hands were crossed. and her head was bowed. And I said, Mom, what's wrong? And she said, read this. The word is did. The word should be didn't. She says, so besides them having everything wrong, all these other errors, are you going to tell me right now this is a typo? The difference between the word did and didn't? Yeah. Yep. So, took my mother a couple of days. She was avoiding phone calls. She was avoiding everything. Knowing that this article was going to come out. And fearing that now this police report was going to be in the newspaper. And she went into shutdown mode, saying, I don't understand how they got this as wrong as they did. And it was just horrific for her. And this was the doing of Frank Milos. And as of today, the Valley Breeze still has that report. Now, it has been modified about 5 times, just so you know. It's a very emotional thing when, if you can imagine reading something that was so carelessly put together, like not a fucking care in the world. Rafael Perez was more interested in the fact that he wanted to portray my son as coming out gay than the fact that my son was dead. Than the fact that my son was dead. He was more interested in any kind of a sexuality thing than the fact that we had a 26-year-old young man, kid to me, dead. And he wanted to portray it as he was recently unemployed. He was coming out gay. He was distraught over a situation. You got Matthew Braga saying he didn't feel that he was normal, or that my mom couldn't walk up and down the stairs. How offensive to a woman who lived very independently. She didn't need assistance with bathing, doing her laundry. She was pretty independent. She was driving a car. So, I contacted Frank. And, we got those opinions and those opinions and those opinions. And, before he did anything, he contacted the Attorney General's office and he got their opinion on it, and he was very meticulous with it. No, he wasn't. He got that report into Ethan Shorey's hands as fast as he could. He wanted to hurt my mother, because that's what he did, right? That's what he did. He wanted to hurt us. With lies. So now I put a claim in against the city of Pawtucket because I want this to stop. I want them to stop giving this report out. I mean, we had not worked on fixing it. You know, nothing was fixed in it yet. So why was he giving this out? And this all goes back to, and this was brought up recently by an attorney, saying that because we have the video of Dave Holden and him saying that they're never going to. And the attorney said they won't change it because they know that for 11 fucking years, you've been trying to get this changed. And they know that this has been a game played by the city of Pawtucket. They know that. And that's why they're not going to change it. They're going to tell you that your son was coming out gay, and you just didn't know that. You just didn't know that your son was coming out gay. My son was an openly gay man for many years before that. They don't want to admit that there was no letter that stated that he was coming out gay and distraught over a situation. They don't want to admit that they never identified him. And if they do all this, we're now, because this was about a month ago, we are now 11 years of emotional abuse. And that's not including my mother. And I told Frank, so let's get back to Frank Milos. So he has an opinion. I guess he had never been challenged by somebody like me because I called every department at the Attorney General's office. Anybody and everybody that would ever be able to place an opinion on something like this, I contacted them. So at the time, Lisa Pincinel was doing the open government. I don't know what she does now, but she was doing the open government. And I know Lisa. I know Lisa personally. I've known Lisa since, I don't know, 7th grade. Was probably when I met Lisa. And I know her brother. I know her parents. You know, Pawtucket. Everybody knows everybody. Let's just face it. So everybody's saying they never gave Frank Milos any kind of an opinion on whether or not to do this. Nobody has any notation, nothing, no conversation with Frank Milos, nothing. Now, he said he went to them, contacted them, double-checked, triple-checked. He had an opinion that he could do this. So finally I said to Lisa, I need it in writing that you guys never did this, that you wouldn't do this, that this isn't even a thing. So she wrote back and she said, never would they. Never would they tell Frank Milos to do that. And I'm going to continue this with a part 2.